Hello there. I am Taylor, and you are listening to the Surviving Maine Behind the Scenes podcast. I am sick with COVID, so I am not on camera, but I have with me today the two most beautiful bald men you have ever seen, I have ever seen. We have production manager for Surviving Maine Season 4, George. How are you, George?
I'm okay. I'm just flipping my braids, getting ready for this podcast, which is always a fun treat for me.
And we have the legend, LRG legend, who has done so well in so many LRGs and just maybe didn't do as well in Surviving Maine. It's Dave. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, Taylor. How are you? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but thank you for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Oh man. So let's get into it. Yeah, I'm doing awful, but I'm pretending that I'm fine.
Well, you sound great.
Oh yeah, thanks.
All right, so we're here. Dave, since episode 1, thought that he was Dead Man Walking. And here we are. What is this, episode 11? 11 episodes in, and Dave's prophecy
Yes.
finally comes true.
I knew it was coming, George. I saw it.
You saw it, definitely.
He knew it was coming from the ride up because we drove up together.
It was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Quite.
Yes.
Yes. Quite the truth.
But it was a fun ride.
That was a fun ride going. We'll get to going home. How fun that was when I was seeing mirages. So let's start there. Let's just start there. Let's start with the ride home.
So to give everyone a little background, George and I know each other very well. We helped produce Survivor Brooklyn South. He lets me help him with that. George and I rode up to this game together because George was going to help Liza with their game. And we picked up Andy, who played season 3, I believe, of Maine. Season 2, 3, right? We picked up Andy, stuffed my car full of stuff, and made our way up to Maine, played the game, and then afterwards, I'll pass it on to George.
So Andy had to get home because he has a toddler at home who he had to, I believe, relieve the babysitter at a very specific, very small window of time. So as soon as the person who won the game was crowned, we were basically in the car on the way home. There was no celebrating. There was no, I threw a couple of $100 towards an after party that I couldn't enjoy because we wound up having to jet from the thing. We were all mentally and physically exhausted, Dave more so than myself and Andy because he was, deprived of food and a comfortable place to sleep. So we had to get out of there, and it was already, I don't remember, like 9 o'clock, maybe 8. I don't remember.
It was late at night, and Andy needed to be home by 3 or so in the morning. It was crazy.
It was crazy, and we wound up, I was like hallucinating. We were so tired from the stress and everything that, we took turns driving. Dave did most of the driving. Andy did a lot more, and I did a lot less because I wanted us all to get back alive, and I didn't think we would have. But we finally get to Andy's place, drop him off. He's good. And now we have to go from, where was he? In Beacon, New York.
Like another hour and a half.
Yeah, and it was another hour and a half where I was just like seeing pink elephants cross the street. It was mirage after mirage. I've never been that tired. So the original plan was for me to go straight home. And that wasn't going to happen. We get to Dave's finally, but I think I fast forwarded. In order to stay awake while I was driving, I subjected Dave to an absurd amount of show tunes. And I don't know how much Dave listens to show tunes, but he got a very, what's the word? He got crash course in
a fire hose of show tunes.
We got a
Dave, did
fire
you like
hose.
it? Were you enjoying the show tunes?
I do like Broadway musicals. I haven't seen many, but George introduced me to every Broadway musical and every song in those musicals.
It was just an endeavor to stay alive, honestly. And he was a captive audience. And not only did I play for them, what did I do, Dave?
We
I
opened the windows
sang.
and screamed it at the top of your lungs to keep ourselves awake. Yes,
Yeah.
that was our ride home.
So we get to Dave's place, and he's like, "Look, it's the middle of the night. Uh, I don't want you driving. Just come in and sleep in the basement. Cat might sit on your face, uh, but you'll at least just get up and leave exactly when you want to in the morning." So I realize that I am absolutely filthy from the weekend. I hadn't showered in 3, 4 days, whatever it was. So I just went into the house, didn't take my bag, didn't take anything, and realized that I needed to take a shower. I just needed to. There was a shower right there. I jump in the shower, I get out of the shower, and I go, I don't have anything to change into. So the long socks went back on. The underwear that I was wearing for 3 days went back on. After a shower, I was like, oh, this is the best shower of my life. And then I put all of the filth on back on myself. And then went to sleep in filthy clothes, but clean skin.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
very strange. But then I guess I woke up like just as the sun came up and drove home. I had just enough sleep that I could get home comfortably. But that's the ride home. Now let's rewind. Let's go back. Let's go back to the game.
I love this out of
Um,
sequence storytelling.
yes, it's very
It's a killer.
Tarantino.
Yes.
It's very Quentin Tarantino. We're starting at the end and working to the beginning. So, Dave, talk to me a little bit about your preparation for this game.
I did a little bit of prep for this game. In the future, I'm doing less prep. I've learned that. I I did a crap load of prep. I worked on puzzles probably 2 hours a day for the 2 months leading up to it. I made fire every day for about 2 months. I can make fire with a flint and steel in probably under a minute right now. Um, I worked out. I worked on grappling hooks. I worked on puzzles. I worked on shooting slingshots that they had done in previous seasons, Surviving Maine. So I was a fucking lunatic, is what I was.
Um, yeah, and this episode seems to point out it's like your Hail Mary, basically, is what this was.
Oh yeah.
You went around to all of the different people in the game, letting them know where you believe they stood in the game and what they would need to do in order to build a resume for themselves. And I don't know if you probably banked on this, but not banked on it, but thought it was a possibility. But these people compared notes. They were like, Dave told me that I'm a goat, and if I don't do something, I'm gonna just be not be respected in the at the end in the final tribal council. Going into this strategy session, were you was that was the plan, was to just put doubt in people's heads about where they believe they stood in the game?
You know, not totally. When that happened at the very end of the strategizing, probably with 15 minutes left in the strategizing time. In my mind, I had already, you know, built the fire, set myself on fire. I know I'm going down at that point. So I didn't do it to everyone. I did it to three different people. And I'm not going to say, I actually didn't watch that piece of this episode because I hate to watch myself in these games. It got to that point in the episode, and I actually fast forwarded it to tribal because I was so upset with myself. But I went to the three people who I legitimately thought needed to do something to help their game. Was there a hope in my mind that they would say, I really appreciate your honesty, let's work together? Yeah, but I didn't think that was really a chance. I was trying to help people that I wanted to do well in the game, but I
Dave,
saw if they didn't do something different, they would be in trouble.
I'm
Yes.
really confused by that because
Yeah.
the people you chose, it didn't make sense to me why you thought like Amelia had played an idol successfully. She was the only person in the whole season who played any kind of advantage successfully at this point. Seth had made a huge move blindsiding Sandra. I guess you didn't know anything Callie had done, but those are the three people you went to. Where there's Nick, who's done nothing, Adam, who's, you know, strategic but hasn't done any big move at all. Lauren has, I understand not going to Lauren, but I was confused by the people you chose as goats.
Well, and I will say, I had heard other people talking. This was not purely my opinion. This was me reading the room and seeing what else was out there. I think Amelia's game got better and better as things went on. It was people thought she was so quiet, she needed to do something more visible. Yeah, I know, yes, the idol, that probably in their mind wasn't going to be enough. Callie, I just hadn't seen a lot up to that point. And I spent a lot of time with her and I liked her. And I wanted to, quite honestly, give her a bit of a kick in the ass to try to build a resume if she needed a resume down the road. And Seth, I got to tell you, we'll talk a little bit about Seth. Seth is one of my favorite people I've seen in any of these live reality games, but he wasn't really playing Survivor for 95% of the game. I mean, he was not comfortable really talking strategy a lot of the time. He wouldn't verbalize what he was going to do. And I wanted to try to help him, if it was possible, to step up and play a little bit more of a Survivor-like game that I hoped the jury would be looking for at the end, that he, or up to that point, I don't think he had been doing too much of. So that's why. Was my read perfect? Probably not, but that was my thought going into it.
So Lauren, you played a part in Lauren being voted out, and then she came back. At this point in the game, right now, where we are, before you're voted out, did you think that you and Lauren were on the same page, or were you thinking this girl's gonna get her revenge on me at the moment that she can, she will?
But mostly that second one, George. I mean, as soon as she came back in, she told everyone, she felt burned by me. I will say that, and legitimately so. I maybe I could have done something to save her. I didn't see a path, but that's not saying I couldn't have done more. So I burned her. So she rightfully was not happy. She kind of burned my LRG background and my game to the point of everyone came back and said, Lauren just told everyone, you played so many games, you're really good at these games, blah, 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 blah. I knew my game was sunk at that point. I just did not see a way to the end at that point. However, Lauren, to me, one-on-one was very kind. It was very nice. Has said, we can work together. I just didn't get a real good feeling that was legitimately going to happen in the game.
Yeah, there was a scene that didn't make the episode in episode 10. This is after she and others tried to vote you out and failed because Zach played his idol on you. And there's a scene where she kind of like makes amends with you. You guys hug. She says,
Yep.
I want to work with you. It's fine. We're even now, kind of thing. And as far as her confessionals go, that's true. Like even in this episode, before your name comes up, she does her confessional and she says, I want to work with Dave. I don't see a reason to vote Dave out. I still think I can work with him. Yep. So I, she writes your name down again and she's happy to do it. But I don't think it was revenge for her at that point.
Yeah. One of my downsides in these games is I overthink things. I'm a former nuclear engineer. I'm a math guy. I play the analytics game. I tend to put myself in people's position and look at things that too black and white, like what I would necessarily do. The previous vote to this, I think it was me and Alistair were the only two that voted incorrectly. I was not in the loop. People weren't really talking to me too much. I felt I was dead. So I manifested that, to your point, Taylor.
And in fairness to you, Dave, my impression of Lauren among that group before she was first voted out was that she was annoying a lot of people. So, and it's evident in the episodes, and was even more evident outside of the episodes, experiencing it and listening to these people talk in real time. And I'm not trying to bash Lauren, but what I'm trying to say is when you were faced with the possibility of either keeping her or trying to keep her or try to save her, I think the perception of Lauren at that point was she's not doing a great job socially. So why would I hitch my wagon to this person who I came in with, who I know, who has already sort of alienated herself from everybody?
Well, I will say this. When I go into these games and I happen to know someone, I do like to work with them. That's almost always my intention. However, I say to them, and I say the same thing about myself, I want to work with you, but I don't want you to burn your game for me and vice versa. If there's a situation where working with me is going to sink you, don't do it because that's not what these games are about. With the Lauren, when she got voted out the pre-merge, we a lot of names were thrown around in that episode. Lauren grabbed me near the end of the strategizing time, and we talked way too long. I quite frankly, I was trying to get away because I was afraid what might be happening. And as soon as we separated to a person, it was unanimous. We've settled on Lauren. It's a done deal. Are you okay with it? This was 3 minutes before we go to tribal. I didn't see a way to change things. Would I have liked to have? Yeah. And maybe I should have done more to do so. And quite honestly, I feel guilty about the whole thing. And I've told Lauren that, like, I'm sorry. I wish I had done more, but I was in a position I did not see a way. And if I did, it would only turn eyes towards me and I think would have ended my game earlier than this. So I made the decision not to do it. So shame on me, but it wasn't done out of malice. It was done out of me not burning my game to try to save a losing cause at that point.
Yeah, I think the only thing you could have done, and I know you had this conversation with her, and it just did not cross your mind, and that's fair. Was her main problem, which was that she warned you because your name had come up that Nick had wanted you out, and you didn't do the same for her, and she could have played her shot in the dark. And I think that's a very fair thing for her to say, but it's also makes sense that it didn't even cross your mind that, oh yeah, we have
should
these
have probably
shots.
even if I couldn't verbalize, I should have signaled her, like, throw the dice or do something to give her, so Lauren, if you're listening, I apologize again. I should have done that, and I'm sorry.
And you're on good
I could
terms
only
now, right,
imagine that
Victor?
Lauren stopped listening after episode 3.
I
All the talk.
pretty sure Lauren's still watching, so you're friends
Okay.
still, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we haven't connected as much as I would have liked to afterwards. That's partly me because I feel like I screwed her over and I'm a little bit embarrassed. So it's more on me than on her.
But I will say, Lauren up like is her mind is so in this game at this point in the game, and she's strategizing, I think, light years ahead of a lot of people out there.
Yeah,
Her and TJ are the ones that are really like have a good grasp on what's going on. Like
I
she
would
was
throw
collecting
Allison in
shots
there
in the
too.
dark.
yeah.
She was the only person that collected like those shots in the dark and to try to use that to its fullest potential. She was really the only person playing that card. And her and TJ, when they talk and they surmise things, and you know that it's actually what's happening, you realize that this girl knows what she's doing and has a really good mind for this game. Um, and what I said something about, oh, Taylor, you missed a golden fist bump between Lauren and TJ.
Oh no, I didn't
There
even
was no
notice. Did they
there
do
was
one?
no sound effect, and it's right as the scene cuts, and I went, no, where's it's like I live for those sound effects when with the fist bumps.
Oh,
Those
there's one in the next episode. Don't worry.
not to point out flaws or whatever, because your editing is, of course,
Oh no, no, thank you.
really incredible.
I didn't even
So,
notice.
Taylor,
I can't
I do
believe
want
it.
to point one other thing about Lauren. I think I forget where you posted. It might have been in the chat for the people that are on the show. We have our own little
Yeah.
chat thing going. You asked the question of why didn't I vote for Lauren when Allison and TJ walking up said, "Hey, let's vote for Lauren."
Yeah.
Here's the reason why. I did not believe Allison and TJ at that point at all. I
Oh
did not.
wow.
I didn't believe them. And even if it was true, I had already burned Lauren and I was not going to vote for her again. And even if
Wow.
that meant I didn't think I had the numbers anyway, I wasn't going to go down writing Lauren's name down again. So that's why.
As far as I could tell, that was
Yeah.
100%. That was what they wanted to do, and they thought for sure they had you to do that. But that's so nice that you wouldn't have done it because, yeah,
They didn't have the numbers. I mean, I don't know if they
they
did it
did,
to
but not
snub me.
they did. So they thought they did. Can I? Okay, can we get into this behind the scenes stuff that I because
Yeah, please.
okay, so first of all, and then we'll get back to because there's so much you guys that got cut from this, and it's such a long episode. It's such a long strategy portion of the episode. So everything in this episode, unlike most others, is in there chronologically. I didn't put anything out of order. So you see the vote being on Callie and Nick, and then you see Dave going around to everyone. Um, and then you see uh the vote changing to either TJ or Dave or Allison, and then Lauren. And so before, wait, because before even that, there's huge confusion by Nick, Amelia, Callie, and Lauren. They all think, for some reason, they counted the votes wrong. And they all think that Nick got 4 votes in that round where Zach goes home. So they thought either Seth or TJ flipped. So they didn't even know that Dave and Allison were the only 2 that had voted for Nick left.
Because
They
you're
thought
it too,
someone
right?
they thought someone else had. So they
Oh,
they thought Seth flipped. Callie and Amelia thought Seth voted for Nick. They were trying so hard to get people to vote for Seth. They wanted Seth out this round. They were pushing it, and nobody was buying it. Nick thought it wasn't. No, Lauren was like, no way. Seth definitely voted with us. It must be TJ. So then they're like, oh, TJ voted for Nick. And then Amelia's like, no way. TJ. So eventually, toward the end, they figure out that they were wrong. So obviously, none of that could go in the episode. It was just a bunch of like malarkey. Oh, Kit Kat. It was just
I don't know
bunch.
whose cat that is. It's weird. This
hi, Charlie.
Wait, I
That's
don't
his
have a
cat,
cat.
Charlie.
But
So
there's a little moment where Dave, speaking of this, the damage control. Is this the damage control after the Zach vote that we're talking about?
yeah, yeah.
There was there's just a really funny moment where Dave, you're engaging Seth, and
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Yeah, I was on the wrong side of the vote with you," and like you took a moment and you looked away. You were like, "How am I gonna?" Like, how am I going to get through to this guy? How am I going to talk? You just have this face on that's like, I can see you processing how you're going to communicate and try to like get this guy on like to see what you saw. And it's just a throwaway little tiny moment where he says, I was on the wrong side of the boat with you. And then you just kind of go for a second, you like drop down and then you're like, all right, let me back up a little bit. Like it was beautiful because,
I
as you said earlier, Seth is not really playing as much as
I
he
think
was
that
having an experience.
let's not downplay what Seth is doing here. Seth is lying to a lot of people and he's manipulating a lot of people. And I think it wasn't apparent to Dave, but it was apparent to others.
Very fair, very fair in
And
that moment.
I thought that scene was fun because it showed how differently these 2 people are viewing the game. Dave is seeing this numbers game as very, there's lines have been drawn, and Seth is seeing it as I'm a floater. I can do whatever I want. I voted incorrectly, and now I'm going to vote this other way. And so Dave is the, paranoid thinker, and Seth is just going with the flow, which, some people will take as he's not playing, but going with the flow is playing. He's doing a great
It's a
job.
different strategy. It is.
Yeah,
It's a different strategy. Do you think that he believes in this moment in the game that he could win this thing?
I don't think so.
I know we can't
I don't
say
think
what
so.
we
I don't
think
think
he
so.
thinks. You You think where do you think he in his mind, where is he going to wind up? He just is it like, they'll vote me out if they vote me out? But do you think he had a killer instinct to win this game at this point in the game?
I do not.
Neither do I.
Well, Taylor, I will say this. My exposure to Seth was less than some, so I freely
Oh yeah,
admit that.
yeah.
That my interaction with him, people would strategize, and he would just sit by himself.
I
He and
know.
I sit down and had probably a 25-minute talk because people were talking to me on strategizing at one point, just about life and the military. And he knew I had, cyber stalked Aaron because I guess he follows
Yes.
Aaron's thing. So he's like, I knew you were coming. I knew you might be here. You're ex-military. We talked about that. It was great to not talk about the game for 20 minutes with someone.
Hmm.
If I had started with Seth, he would have been my ride or die, not just to beat him at the end or anything, just because I like the guy so much. I would have legitimately wanted to
And
be
it
one
was
with him the whole
it
game.
was mutual. He didn't want to vote you out. He liked you a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service on his way out.
He did.
Both
He did.
times,
Both
I
times.
Yes, he's a great dude. Love Seth if you're listening. Great dude.
So, and I think he is. So back to what happened in, chronological order. It was the very, very end. Nick had been trying to get Callie and Amelia to vote for Dave. They had decided on Dave. This is moments before you're lining up for tribal. At this time, Callie gets taken by Jess to do her confessional. You at this moment are talking to TJ and Allison, and it's Lauren, right? Because Allison had just confirmed with Callie, we're voting for Lauren. Amelia had been wanting to vote for Lauren the whole time. She brought that to you when you were asking her about a big move, and you kind of dismissed it. And then Callie, in the middle of her confessional, is like, I have no idea what I'm doing. By the end of the confessional, I'm so glad this was caught on video. Someone yells, I think it's George, line up for tribal. That's in Callie's confessional.
Nice.
The camera cuts. There's another camera on Nick and Amelia. Callie walks up and says, okay, I'm sorry I was being sketchy. Let's just vote for Dave. And that's when it consolidates on Dave. And so Amelia runs and tells TJ because she doesn't want to leave TJ out. And TJ's like, what the fuck? It was supposed to be Nick. And then we changed it to Lauren. And now you're telling me it's Dave when this whole time it hasn't been Dave at all. So that's how it all happened. And then they told Allison, of course, and you can see them if it's in the episode. You can see when people are walking into tribal, Allison, Amelia, and TJ are way behind everyone else, and they're like frantically talking. That is when
I was the last one going into tribal. I always was.
Not this time. You should watch it. They're
Okay.
in the back talking, and you come in, and they're behind you, and you can see them in the very back frantically talking about how it has now changed to be you.
Interesting. Okay. Was this literally on the way to sit down or lining up to go sit down or to get in the
This
line
is
before you go in?
walking in to sit down.
Okay.
But you were the first one to vote this round, yes
Yeah.
or no?
Yes.
And that was by
I was-
design, I can only imagine.
Right.
Every time since the merge. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, like that
Pull
helped
the
me so
Becky.
much too, George. Yeah.
Pulled the Becky and always sat in that spot.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. Yes.
Yeah, because we decided to put an idol at this point in the game, and it was my idea to hang it from the fly tape that was hanging right above Tribal Council.
George, were you
Uh,
dying when Dave came in? Were you
I was,
dying?
because if anything, I am a fair human being when it comes to these games. I do not want to give any indication of anything ever. I was, because Dave is a friend of mine, I was hoping he would have seen it, and I knew that he was the first one there. So I think that I was overly not making eye contact with him. I was overly just kind of making sure he said what he had to say. Okay, thanks, Dave. Go ahead. And I think a few times while he's writing and looking down with the camera, I kind of go,
Mhm.
I kind of zoom up to just show it, hoping that it was going to be you that found it. But obviously those are
George,
the
I'll
rules
take it
here.
even one step further. Most times I would come in, you'd be like, okay, and you kind of like look down and like do whatever you're doing. This time you came in, you were like totally
Yeah.
avoiding eye contact, and I was so like lazy, like I don't like what do they call when you're losing oxygen? You what's it called when your vision goes down to nothing? What's that called?
Yeah.
Old age.
Tunnel
Uh,
vision.
tunnel vision. I had tunnel vision so bad. You could have like put the idol in front of me and like swung it back and forth, and I probably would have missed it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Taylor, can
Yeah.
you tell me where was I know I went first? When did Allison go? Was she second? Was
Right.
she last?
She was second. She was right after you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she like immediately saw it, and she's
Yeah.
like all of 3 feet tall, and got to see it, and was panicked because it was in a position where if you're looking up at tribal council from at the perch, which is what we called it, from that down there, you could absolutely see somebody standing on a chair and trying to get this thing. I forgot what she did. She jumped up, right? Did she
No,
jump up and
she
grab it?
grabbed a chair and pulled it over. I had to like cut this all out. And I want to
Right.
say short people are used to looking straight up just to talk to other humans. So it's not surprising that Shorty
Very,
looked up.
very, very fair thing that you just said. You're absolutely right there.
So she pulled a chair over and then had to jump from the chair. She still couldn't reach it with the chair.
And again, I'm like, she's looking at me as if, what can I do? They're gonna see me. And again, exactly what I did with Dave. I looked down and started doing my taxes and whatever
Yeah.
whatever else I could do that
George
wasn't
said
like
nothing. Yeah.
Pulling your high socks higher. Yes.
my socks were up to my nipples. It was ridiculous. Um, so
Well, George, before you go any further, I will say, I think in the episode you show the cards. I wasn't convinced, but I was wondering, hey, maybe if you can find enough cards, the ace of spades, get a royal flush with all the cards, it turns into something. And at this point, I'm grasping at straws. So when I finally saw an ace of spades on the table, and previously I said, can I take any of these cards? And you said, you cannot to me. This time I said, can I take this ace of spades? And you said, yes, you can. And I'm thinking,
Asshole.
holy shit, maybe this is something. And it was not.
I just remember putting all that stuff out, and it wasn't just me. It was Will, and it was Brandon, and it was a couple of us were we were like, mess with your heads even more than you were messing with your own heads, basically, by laying out different cards, laying out a full house, put like just each time you went up there, arranging the bullets that were up there in a different pattern. We were assholes, let's just face it. And moving forward, in the interest of time, I will never do anything like that again. And I think that before the game, I'm going to just be like, don't waste your time looking for anything here if we wind up deciding not to put anything there, because there were people that were up there 2 3 minutes trying to vote, and we were
It
just
slowed the game down.
exhausted.
It did slow the game down.
Absolutely. So we have to be, and there was so much stuff there, just there from whoever shoots animals, that because it's used as place to shoot wildlife. Am I right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deer hunting.
So now, question, like a behind the scenes question I have for Dave. Now, we drove up together, as I mentioned. You knew that my involvement was going to be uh, filming challenges occasionally. Like I was like a substitute film person. Now you're starting to see I'm calling shots left and right. And like, what was going through your head about seeing me in that position? Is it like George just can't take a sub role and has to?
Well,
What were your thoughts?
a little bit of background for those. George is the founder, host up to this point of Survivor Brooklyn South, and he is the man. Like he does the scripts, he runs it, he's yelling at people, do this, do that. Like he is the sun in the solar system of Survivor Brooklyn South. So George says, I'm going to go up and help Liza with their game. I'm going to give some advice and film some of this and do a little bit of that. I'm like, okay, George, that's great. I need to go back to doing puzzles in the car. Shut the hell up. So I think it started at the second tribal council. you started screaming questions down to Liza. Ask them this, ask them that. And Liza would listen to you and they would ask that question. And it was very insightful. And it just, as I play these games and having helped produce other games, I enjoy this side, but I'm also watching the other side just because I find it fascinating. And I saw, George, your involvement in the game grow and grow and grow and grow as it went on, and it was fun to watch.
It was fun to do. It was very, very, very stressful because I wasn't mentally prepared for it. But I saw where, Taylor had to go and break her legs and couldn't be there. You broke every bone in your body, couldn't be there. This
Whole body
poor girl,
cast. Yeah.
whole body cast.
So you had to
But
be me. You had to be
I
me.
and I it was almost I don't it was almost like I don't know if you're familiar. I'm dating myself. There's a Hitchcock movie called Rebecca back in the day. I'm not going to get into it, but it's the new person being brought in and sort of being haunted by the ghost of the old person, not old, but the previous person. It was like, well, Taylor wouldn't do it like that. We don't want to
Oh
make Taylor
no.
mad. Taylor, so like this whole time while I'm improvising this role that I didn't know I was going up there to fill, um, I knew Taylor very well by the end of that. I knew exactly before seeing Taylor, before having a conversation with Taylor, I knew Taylor better than I knew my brother at that point.
I think you
Uh,
you you texted me afterwards. You were like, I think we've been married and divorced, and we still have never met.
yep. Because I know that you knew a bunch of people, of course, that back and were on crew, and like I'm sure they were letting you know who the is this guy coming in here. But I think I got the job done. I
Yeah.
think I did what needed to be done. I saw where there was a hole, and I tried to fill it. And I think that fact that we're not still out there trying to find out who the winner is, I think I did a good job.
And I
Well,
know
George, I
Liza's
will say
very
this:
grateful. Yeah.
when we arrived, the deal was, I don't know if you remember this, George. All right, George, I drove most of the way up here. I'm going to be exhausted on the other end. Do you mind taking the lead on driving back? And then the game ends, and George goes, I'm too tired to drive. You need to drive. I'm like, I've been playing for 4 fucking days. He's like, I can't drive. Okay, I got it. That's how involved you were.
Yes, and not to mention, I have like this irrational fear of driving other people's cars. And yours was a like kind of a truck situation,
SUV,
and I'm used to
SUV.
my little Honda Civic that like if it hits a bump, I my back is out for a week. So I'm driving this big truck with all this equipment, and in the middle of the night, that was like anxiety central for me. Um, fun, fun
Yeah,
little
fun.
memories. Yeah.
Hey, Taylor,
And
I
but
have something for you.
honestly, looking back, because we had to rush, because Andy had to get back to his family, he should have drove more. He was the one that forced us out of there because of family obligations, which are totally understandable. But I'm like, drive, you go.
You
You're the one that
bastard,
wants to go.
Andy.
You
You
son,
owe us, Andy.
Andy.
Andy owes
Surviving
you
Maine
guys.
5, you're driving.
Definitely.
Taylor, I do have a
Um,
little bit of behind the scenes tea if you want it.
Oh,
please.
Okay,
spill it.
I'm going to share my screen right here. Let's see if it works. Hold on. Okay. On the screen, this was when Liza was presenting the Final Nine Immunity Challenge, and were explaining what's going on. And you'll notice on the orange table right next to us is this canvas bag.
That's the fucking bag you stole?
Okay. Yes. So, and I'll be honest, like I said, I was so upset at myself in this episode, I did not watch the whole thing. Was this shown on the episode? If so, I'll shut up so as not to bore people.
No, there's no footage of
Okay.
you taking that. I was wondering where you got
Okay.
that.
Okay. So as I was going through watching the episode, I'm like, there's the fucking bag. So we do the spinny challenge, which my favorite part was Allison trying to get it going, and she flinged it like 30 yards away and screamed and ran off camera. That was hilarious.
Yes, it was.
Nice job, Allison. I loved it. But anyway, so I see this bag there. We lose, I lose, I don't make the finals or whatever, and people are off strategizing. And I mean, part of the reason I will say I was paranoid was I went up and talked to people, but I was not really someone people were approaching. Maybe they're like, I don't want to talk to the paranoid lunatic over there, but I was alone by myself a lot. So it was still on the table. So I just walked over to the table, casually looked at it, opened it up. There's an idol in there. Okay. So there's an idol in there without a note.
Holy
And I'm
shit.
thinking something is wrong here. So I actually, while everyone else is strategizing, I asked Liza, or someone said, could you please, send Liza over? Liza and I talked, and I said, I found this, Liza. Is this legitimate? It was an idol because I seen whoever played it before. She's like, I'm sorry. They said it is not an idol. I'm so sorry. It shouldn't have been there. Like, no
Hmm.
problem. Take it back. But I was this close to having, a pretty exciting end to this episode if it was a
Yeah.
legitimate idol, but it was not.
I won't
Wow.
say who the person was, but a similar circumstance happened with me. There was a moment where someone found an idol where they shouldn't have, and it wasn't an idol, similar to exactly what you did, Dave. And I never in my life in these games felt so bad for a mistake that I made, because it made me think in the future, do you just, if it's your mistake, do you say, go ahead, it's, yeah, you found that it was not, you weren't supposed to, that wasn't supposed to be there. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you definitely should have let me use the idol when I found it. but
But not
like I said,
the other person who found it, I'm sure.
I don't know. But having been on
It
the
was good.
production side, if that's not part of the script of the game, it could screw things up down the line. I think you need to have a set script and not, wing it on the fly because I think bad things can happen. That's just my opinion.
And there has to be room for human error
Hmm.
when you are just mentally depleted. And that's really what we were. Let's switch gears a little bit. What do you think? Like, let's talk about different people that are still left in the game. I'm curious what you think, if you could put your mind back to where you were in this game before you were voted out. Where was Amelia on your radar?
Pretty low but rising. I knew who Amelia was coming in just because I knew Will from a previous game where he had done production and videotaped this. I had not seen much of Allison um, at that. Oh, sorry, did you say Amelia or Allison?
Amelia.
Yeah, so Amelia. I just hadn't interacted with her enough to have that strong of an opinion. I did not see much. She seemed very quiet and very nice, but I had not seen that much gameplay from her. That's just me at that point.
Yeah.
And
And that was my impression too. It didn't look like she was playing very hard, but then you watch these episodes and she was really good. She was in there. She was doing her thing.
he was.
Same
And George,
thing,
I gotta say,
same thing.
that's my fault too. I was closed off too much in this game. I wasn't listening to what people were saying. I was talking too much. Amelia, listening her talk and speak to other people, she had the pulse of the game and was playing really, really well. I didn't see it until I saw these episodes, though. So
What did I think that I'm just looking at my notes. Oh, the challenge. So Dave, you kind of know, you feel at this point that you're on borrowed time, and you know that you need this immunity win in order to last a little bit longer in the game. You approach the challenge, you see that it's that ball in the thing. What were your thoughts in that moment? Was it, I'm cooked, or I think I might
uh,
have this?
I think I might have a shot at this one. I've never done that challenge in previous ones, but I've seen people do it. So and I was pretty confident I could get the ball rolling pretty well. And if you watch, I think it was me against Seth. Was it Seth that beat me, or was it? It might have been
Adam.
Adam. I forget who won the whole thing. I had it going pretty well. My problem was I didn't. I kept going faster and faster and faster. The key to that, which Adam did better than anyone, was slow and steady. Just get a constant rhythm. And I went past the rhythm and lost it. I thought I was doing pretty well with it up till that point.
The energy that you were created could have powered a car. You
Oh
were
yeah, I was
going
going
so
so fast.
fast.
Yeah,
It was like a Flintstones, another old person reference. Flintstones, like when you see the aardvark or whatever powering the vacuum or whatever. You were it was
Yeah, I flew off the ground for a few feet. Did you get that on camera, Taylor? That was really
There
you
exciting.
was
levitated.
levitation. It was,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
So this is also a very Nick heavy episode. Nick is, in my mind, up until this point, sort of not there, and when he is there, he's kind of making some Gilligan moves, another old guy reference. Um, but what, what? Talk to me about Nick's game. What's happening there at this point? Does Nick think he has a shot at winning this thing?
I think he has a. I think he does think he has a shot to win the game. I I had a hard time figuring out Nick. I'll be quite honest with you. I could never really get a feel for him. I was going to play a game with us, but this is a better way to do it. I was going to ask us all to write down one word to represent each of the people. So this is mine for Nick. I put enigma.
Oh,
I
I'll do
really
this.
I could not I couldn't get a feel for him. I really couldn't.
And I kind of still feel that way about him, even a year or so after this. And I think that's, a little bit of mystery is not a bad thing. Uh, but yeah, um, by I think I said it in the first podcast, within the third hour, Nick showed up clean shaven, and by the third hour, he had a full beard. I don't know how he pulled it off, but he
Now
was
that's a
Grizzly Adams.
man. That's
That
a
is a
Yeah.
man.
man.
I say
Um,
goofball, but now I want to change it actually to
Is that you for
messy.
Nick?
This is my word for Nick. Yeah,
Okay.
messy.
Okay. So I did enigma. You did messy.
Yeah.
George, what do you say?
I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Nick was, I mean, uh, enigmesi. Is that a word? Because I could
Enigma. Yes, that's what George was.
combine those two. He was definitely messy. He was having the time of his life, but he was making some rash decisions out there, pointing at things, thinking that Liza wasn't going to go. Oh, Nick, you're pointing at. He was like, I just thought I was going to be able to point, and you were just going to know who the person was. It's not how tribal council works, Nick. You make a gesture like that, you're going to be pointed out. But he took it in good spirits because Zach pushed back, and I think he says it in his confessional early on in the episode. He talks about he was like, Nick is what's his name? Zach is really mad at me, but like mad at me in the game. I don't think it's going to carry over to real life. It'd be interesting to find out if that was the case. That could have been one thing we asked Zach when he was
Yeah.
was in. So we'll have to ask.
He did
Uh,
feel bad. He said he felt bad for the way he voted for Nick.
it was like a spiteful vote, right?
Yeah.
You started with
Something we
Amelia.
don't.
What's your word for Amelia? Since we'll go back to her, I'll give you mine. Mine was beloved.
That's a good one.
She more than
I
anyone
would.
in the cast brought people in, like into her sphere of goodness. It was fun to see.
I'm gonna say underrated.
It's a good one too.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I went with
And you wrote
intelligent, but
intelligent. Yeah.
That works too. Um, Nobody really brings up Callie. This episode. I think TJ was pushing for Callie, and it's the first time that her name was ever thrown out there. So, and I think this goes back to knowing the type of game that's being played and what your role should be within it. Maybe Callie is realizes that playing more of a low key game and letting these big strategists who are at the forefront, uh, battle it out while she sort of votes the right way each time. So Callie, dark horse, I think, at this point. And TJ, is the first person to go, maybe this person who nobody seems to remember is in the game. So, what were your impressions of Callie at that point, Dave?
I told her she was one of the people I said, I think you need to step up your game. However, I will say I think she is playing a very, very good under the radar game. She is not putting herself out there incredibly visible. She's being pretty positive. She's not burning bridges. I mean, there are an infinite number of ways to win the game of Survivor. Threading the needle like she's doing is one way one could win the game, and she is doing a really good job. I put unflappable. She,
For
no
Callie.
matter what happens with her, she's kind of steady state, has her plan. She has confidence. She doesn't panic. You know, she probably saw me freaking out and learned that that's a bad idea, and adjusted accordingly. Good, smart on Callie's part.
I think for Callie, I would give Callie perceptive. I think she's perceptive, quietly perceptive. It's 2 words, sorry.
That's 2 words. Yeah, I went with mysterious because so many people get nothing from her. She gives nothing away in her face. Um, you just don't know what she's thinking, and she's thinking a lot, but you can't tell. She's just quiet, mysterious.
I like it.
I like this game. Keep going.
You pick next, George. You've been picking the names. Go.
Oh, I have. Did we do TJ?
We did not. You want me to go?
I
Hold on.
do.
For TJ, I put astute, and I don't know if it's coming through backwards or not. Every time
No.
TJ speaks, I think that's exactly what was going on in the game. When I was prepping for this, I'm like writing down what TJ's words were, because that's exactly what was happening in the game. I don't know if it was his poker background or what, but he had a pulse on this game like I've never seen.
For me, I think that my perception of TJ changed when I watched these episodes. I thought he was going to be the first guy out, or one of the first people out, because he was creeping some of the people out just by smiling too much at him. We've covered this before, but watching these episodes, my word for TJ is brilliant. I think he's brilliant, and I don't use that word very freely. And I think that just knowing where this game is going, knowing what's happening, knowing, how very little information these people have, the handle that he had on what was happening is kind of mind blowing. And that makes him a great poker player. So TJ, I have tons of respect for TJ because he is a really, really smart dude. So brilliant for me.
Yeah, we all agree. I chose perceptive for the same reason that you guys are talking about. And I know he watches these. He's going to have his little heart warmed seeing us all say these nice things about him, because he really had the best reads. He and Lauren just knew he knew everything that was going on. Lauren was good, but not as perceptive as TJ. He really had it.
And I will say what took TJ from this level to this level, he didn't just realize what was going on in the game. He had the self-awareness of, here's where I have a shortfall, I'm not doing well here. Being able to see the game, but also self-assess, that is very, very difficult. And he was great at it.
Yes.
Truly. Pick the next one, Dave.
I'll do Adam. Easy. I put stud. I mean, if he is the prototypical merge boot that you would see in Survivor. He is the buff guy, mid-20s, good at everything, good looking dude, great hair, unlike some of us. He was just a stud. He was an animal in this game.
What about you? What about you? Cerebral?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And he's good at talking about his thoughts. If only he could enunciate a little bit more.
So for me, I'm kind of happy you said stud, Dave, because my first instinct was, this is going to kill me. I know I'm going to get ragged for this, but he is hot. And so that's mine. He's
I'm
hot.
a straight guy. I can't say that. I can just write stud.
You can say it.
So stud works.
Sorry, he's hot.
And it's so funny that my gay counterpart here picks the brains, and I'm like, yeah, Adam's pretty hot.
I forgot that George, when he showed up on the Topher podcast and he was wearing that shirt, I was like, oh damn, he's hot. Even I know it.
And the facial hair. All right, we got to move on because I'm gonna have to. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm a dirty old man. Sorry. Adam's hot, but yeah, he's also cerebral. Great. He's cerebral. At this point in the game, I think either he's gonna win it or Allison's gonna win it.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Those are my two.
I don't, I don't. I'm not with you there, George. But yes, I understand why the hotness. That's why I think
About
Callie.
Adam and me?
Who was your pick at this point, Taylor? If you top two
Oh, to
at
win.
this point,
Allison, although I'm not sure how she would get there. TJ, and I could see many paths for him to get there. Amelia, because she was my winner pick before the season started, and I definitely see a path for her to get there. Those are my top three at this point.
Right? That's fair.
Adam's gonna watch this and hear me call him hot, and he's gonna be like, "Really?" Um, I'm sorry, Adam. It's
I called you a stud, so whatever.
yeah. That's fine.
Who's next? Lauren, Seth, and Allison. Taylor, you pick.
Let's go. Allison.
I will go
Okay.
first.
Go ahead.
I put Sphere. Here's why. She is the most well-rounded survivor player I think I've seen in all of these LRGs. She is smart as a whip. Her social game is through the roof. She is good at these challenges, and she's got real strategic chops. It's hard to really tick off all four of those things. She is so well-rounded. She is a Sphere.
I could not agree more. That is a perfect word for her. I chose Sunshine, which is also a sphere.
Yeah, there you go.
But she's just so bright, and you just want to give her a hug, and I just want to watch her give confessionals all day. She's just so good. She's so good.
Yep.
For me, it's talented. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that she was a performer. But I've seen her in clips singing and in shows and what have you. And the girl has got pipes. She can sing. I don't know if you've heard her sing, Taylor, but wow, she's but if we're talking game, how I see her in the game, I just powerhouse. That was at this point in the game, that's what she was. She was unstoppable. I was worried in the beginning because she jetted for the idol when only three or four people in the very beginning of the game. So I was like, maybe she's not gonna do well. But this again, where did you come from? Like, but the yeah, powerhouse. That was how I saw her, and that's how I continue to see her. But if you get a chance to watch any clips on her social media, she can sing.
I haven't.
So I think
I need to.
if we get her on a podcast, I might have to instigate a duet. I'm just saying.
And who's the other
I'm
part
gonna
of the
put her
duet?
on the spot. What's that?
Who's the other part of the duet? You?
Me? Me?
Okay, George. I had
I
7
can
hours of
kick.
you singing.
I can kick some karaoke ass. Let's face it.
Okay.
Okay. Who do we got next? We got
Lauren?
Seth?
Oh,
Lauren.
Seth.
Let's do Lauren. Let's do Lauren.
Lauren.
Okay. I put determined. Lauren knows what she wants, and she is going to chew through a wall to get it. And she is one of the most determined people I've ever seen. Sometimes it helped her in these games, and sometimes it's her downfall.
Yes,
Okay.
that's great for her.
Player.
I chose player. That was just the first word that came to mind because she is playing so hard and she's holding herself back. She's talking about how she's not playing nearly as hard as she wants to. She's playing so hard this whole time. It's just really fun to watch. Really fun to watch her.
Strategic. That's my word for her. She's strategic.
Yeah, that's great.
Very strategic. It's a cross between strategic and smart. She's very smart. She's very strategic. Those two go hand in hand. But,
I'll also throw something out on Lauren. I think her redemption arc in this, and it's part of the editing and part of her how she did. I think it's the best redemption arc I've seen in any LRG that's been aired. So, kudos to you, Taylor. And kudos to her.
Yeah, to her. Yeah.
we can extend it to CBS. Besides, Chris Underwood, who came
Emily?
back and won the game. We don't know if Lauren wins the game at this point, but we do know that Lauren's coming back, and she's not really. It doesn't seem like she's going anywhere at this point. So, she's get like when people come back into a game who was voted out, that they're going to come back pissed off at some people. So it's probably a good idea to try to get rid of them immediately as soon as possible. And she has ingratiated herself better than most people who have come back from redemption arcs in LRGs and CBS Survivor. So she's killing it. And last but not least,
Seth. I'll go last
Mr.
on this
Seth.
one. You go. You go underestimated, Taylor?
Yeah. I think he may not have started out with the best strategic mind, but he really built up his survivor playing chops, and he stayed underestimated, or he has so far, except for Callie and Amelia wanting to vote him out this episode, but nobody knows that.
For me, it's mensch. Seth is a mensch. Do you know what a mensch is, Taylor?
It's like a Jewish thing. It's like just a good guy, right?
A really, like, if I'm stuck in a situation where I need to be bailed out and I need somebody to be by my side, someone who knows what they're doing, it's Seth. Seth was, I was sort of panicked when Amelia had her medical thing. I didn't know really how to handle that. I'm not a doctor. I never took a first aid class. I kind of know what to do. But he stepped up, Seth, and he was like, I'm a paramedic. And I deferred to him. And he assuaged my fears that I knew that we were going to be able to get through it because Seth stepped up and did what he did. And I just remember having that moment with Seth, and I was like, this is a good guy.
Yeah.
This is somebody who you want on your side in any situation.
Yeah, I agree. I put Oak. Seth is the most solid, dependable, trustworthy. If there's a problem, Seth will be there for you. I'm not Jewish. I'm not sure of the word, but yes, he is. He's a mensch. So, Seth, if you're watching this and you ever get down to the New York, New Jersey area, you've got a place to stay for as long as you want. I will take you to dinner. You're the man.
And I second that. I would love to kick it with Seth again, outside of the game, and just because I follow him on social media, and he's a great dad, and he's always doting on his kids, and they seem to be a very tight family and very loving. So, it was great to see Seth in the game, and then to see that my impressions of him in the game carried over into his real life. He's exactly the guy who he was in the game. Someone you could rely on, someone you could depend on, and a really good dude.
Yeah, he's really funny too. I follow him on we're friends on Facebook. He's a super funny dude.
Yeah, he is.
I was honored to get a chance to meet him. Yeah.
And I think that given the chance to play another one of these, I mean, I don't really foresee it. I don't see him like seeking these things out. But I think that if he were to, I think he'd play a little differently. He'd be a little freer to make big moves. I think that he would. I think that this was like a dress rehearsal for him if he ever were to decide to do this again, based on where we stand right now.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Can I ask you guys a game-related question, a strategy question at this point? Should Allison have saved her idol at this point? Did she think she was really at risk? No one knew she had the idol. I didn't hear her name like ever.
No, at this point it was a bad play for her. But I understand the paranoia. I mean, you had it too, and maybe it rubbed off on her a little bit. But
sorry, Allison.
But she had two idols, and she saw this second idol find as a sign that she should play it, and I don't blame her. If I had two and I was in that position, I mean, play it. Shit.
She was successfully lying to so many people that I can imagine her saying to herself, "These people see right through me. I'm lying so well that there's no way I'm not getting played right now the way I'm playing everybody else.
Yeah.
So I kind of get that. Yes, ultimately it wasn't the best decision for her to play that idol in that moment, because it just didn't pan out the way she wanted it to, or the way she thought it was going to, rather. But I can understand why she did it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a fan of if you have any inkling it might be you, don't sit on the idol. That's why I played my
Right.
shot in the dark, whatever episode that was. I
Yeah.
thought there was a chance. Why not do it?
Yep.
Taylor, I have an editing question for you. I'm going to share my screen here for a second. I am just curious. Hold on one second.
Multimedia, I love it.
This is fun. It's got to be interactive here. Hold on. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Yes.
pictures. That's Liza and me in our very first game back in 2017. We were in the same tournament.
Ah,
Babies, just babies.
Yeah, we that's us at the final eight. I beat Liza head to head in a log rolling competition. That was
Holy
fun.
shit.
But anyway, that's not what I'm doing. In the top of the screen, what are these little fuzzy things? Is that like an overhang? Is that a mic? I
It's
can't.
the
I kept.
Mike.
bane of my existence, Dave.
What the hell is that? It was driving me
It's
nuts.
yeah. And I'm able to cut it out half the time. So imagine how often you're not seeing it. Yeah, it's the fuzzy part of a microphone that's attached to the top of the camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
was
little
like, it is a
Muppet that's sitting
caterpillar.
on
What the
top
hell
of
is
the camera.
that thing?
It's a Muppet.
It's the bane of my existence. That's what it is. Yeah.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Thank you for sharing
Who
that.
can
I
we
appreciate
call
it.
out? Whose camera was that? Let's
uh,
call someone out right now.
yeah, it was mostly Andy, but two people had it going on. It was mostly Andy. I think Jess might have been the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and Taylor, I know we're kind of winding down at this point. I'm not a big fan of the LRG awards just in general because it's kind of like people giving themselves awards.
Yeah.
But with that being said, if you don't win best edited season for the LRG awards, burn them to the ground because I'm telling you, the episodes you put together are, I think, better than the CBS show. I think the
Dave,
storylines are great.
thank
You
you so
do
much.
like if you know what's happening and you go back and watch it, you're dropping hints of what's coming
I
in the
am.
future.
Yeah.
The split screen you did when we were doing the twirling the ball thing,
Oh yes.
that was genius. I mean, the stuff you're putting in here it's beyond CBS. They should get lessons from you.
They should. No, thank you so much. That really means so much. You know
It's
that
not
I do this for you guys, and I just want you guys to feel like you were in a really big, important, fun game that looks good and is fun to watch, and that you would be proud to show your family, even if you get voted out. So, thank you so much. That means a lot to me, Dave.
Thank you. George and I, can we agree we're going to double Taylor's pay next year? Is that okay?
From zero to
Yes,
zero.
exactly.
from zero to a bus ticket
There you go.
to come and film our once we get our shit together and decide to produce a multi-day game. I think Taylor's got to head up our crew with
Yes.
the wonderful Will.
Proudly.
That'll be
Yes.
fun.
The last one thing I wanted to ask you, Dave, was do you regret letting Amelia know that you knew Will on production? Is that something what were you hoping to were you hoping to gain leverage there? Assuming, yes?
When I play these games, I like to find one person I am really, really tight with. Kind of like my favorite writer is a guy named Andy Baker who got me into these live reality games. He talks about finding one true person. Find the one person in this game where you honestly feel you trust them. You can talk strategy without you think they're going to backstab you. I liked a lot of these people. Like, I told Allison, you're my number one. I didn't feel that level of trust with anyone. I was hoping that could maybe be Amelia when that happened. It just, for a variety of reasons, it just, we didn't have the time or, she was in different alliances. It didn't happen. That was my, half-hearted or like fumbling, introvert idiot trying to do that. And it didn't work. But that was what I was trying to do.
That's all I wanted to know.
Hmm.
All right, I think we covered everything in Taylor, unless you have anything that you want to add to wrap us up, but I think that we're there.
Well, we didn't give a ticky, but I know you got to go Run.
Ticky, no. We got time. Who gets the ticky?
Player of the
Let's-
episode, Dave.
I'm giving it to Lauren. And it's not a make good for anything that might have happened in the past. I think she controlled herself, showed her strategic chops, and took out the person that betrayed her, and set herself up pretty well, I think.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I agree with that. I don't know. I can go the Lauren route, but I also want to give TJ his flowers in this episode because I really think he is honed in on all of the little nuances that are going on in the relation. He's picking up on things.
TJ calling out the Callie Adam connection was pretty huge. Yeah.
Yes. So I think I'm gonna go with TJ for this one for sure.
Okay, split decision here, and I'm going with Nick because Nick was the one who threw Dave's name out first. It was at the very end, but he made it happen. He couldn't have done it without Lauren, obviously, and Lauren did just as much work as Nick, but Nick was saving himself there. Lauren was not getting any votes. Well, maybe, but for most of the strategy, she was not getting any votes. It was on Nick for sure. So I would give it to Nick.
Though. You're right.
No,
now I have to.
Don't change it. All three get it. All three get it.
3 tickies.
3 tickies. It's not in the budget. We only have room in the budget for 1 ticky per episode. But yeah, 3 tickies. All right. We'll give TJ his, we'll give Nick his, and we'll give
Lauren.
What was the one you said? Lauren.
You're so shady, George.
But intentionally. I'm just being a dick. But yes, Dave, thanks so much for taking the time to do this.
Thanks, Dave.
I know you got kids in college and craziness going on and a lot of fun stuff happening in your life. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. We'll see, George.
I wonder. Thank you, Taylor.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we will see you all next week.